Didn't we just do this? Well, I mean, week is kind of an overstatement in this case, right? It's just been a couple days. No, that's a little literal. Plus, it's not the name of the show. Anyway, the great Christmas time wave of cross races has broken, sending riders back to their countries of birth or licensed registration, as the case may be, which is strangely similar to how the Christmas story begins in the Bible. But instead of giving birth in a manger, this cyclocross diaspora will be seeking national titles. Except, of course, in Australia. Well, no, I guess they will still be seeking national titles in Australia, they're just going to be road titles instead. In fact, Sky's Richie Porte won the men's Australian time trial title this week, putting him high on the list of favorites for the upcoming Tour Down Under. And yes, I'm aware the TDU doesn't have a time trial, but Porte did win at Old Wollonga Hill last year. In fact, it was the last time anyone saw him do anything, so I'm hoping he'll be in good form this time around too. Rabobank Liv's Shara Gillow took the women's time trial, and I'm not sure if she's doing the women's Tour Down Under because they haven't posted a start list yet. She did win a stage at last year's race, but she was also riding for Orica back then. I also don't see her Rabobank squad on the start list for the Tour de San Luis, and there's really not that much else out there, because maybe it's not road season yet? No. However, the Aussies have not been alone this week in naming non-cyclocross champions, as the US Cyclocross Nationals began in Austin, Texas, with its usual inexplicable bevy of non-championship events. Granted, several iterations of the South by Southwest Music Festival have shown that the city can handle the influx of middle-aged white dudes who fill these events. But suffice to say, it seems like a very strange way to get people to the races. Speaking of getting people to the races, this week's t-shirt donor is BikeReg.com, which provides online event registration for road, cross, mountain, fat bike, and any other type of cycling event across the country. Their super versatile platform and top-notch customer service mean a better experience for participants and promoters, and as someone who has registered for more than his fair share of cycling events through the years, this is a statement I stand behind completely. Moving towards Europe from Austin by way of New York City, Garmin Cannondale had their team launch earlier this week. There were two major disappointments. One? Yeah.
Open bar, dude!
Disappointment two, there are already going to be a lot of other black/kind of dark kits out there next season. As much as I reject the idea that cyclists need permanent individual numbers, it is kind of important to be able to tell them apart from the air. And I mean, yeah, maybe they'll have different colored helmets, or like IAM Cycling make the rider's name more prominent. But you know, the way most of us end up watching live cycling, having different colors is probably for the best. On the flip side of Garmin's glitzy Manhattan coin is Androni Venezuela, the team known for having more sponsor patches on their uniform than riders actually wearing them, and which is in a still-running fight with Johnny Hoogerland about apparently unpaid wages. The team has actually responded to Hoogerland's allegations in a not entirely exhaustive but still pretty impressive way. But of course, like all blameless parties, they feel inclined to supplement their innocence with a lawsuit. Therefore, he will have to respond in court of his calumnies. Ah, Italian. Brad Wiggins is in the news, having gotten formal recognition for his Wiggins team. And yes, that is supposed to be Wiggins, in all caps, as this Cycling Weekly correction shows. Seeing it in text like that kind of reminds me of an old Nintendo RPG where you didn't see the lowercase letters as you created the character, so everyone reads your name in all caps for the whole rest of the game. Kinda makes sense actually, as Wiggins will be using Wiggins to power him on his Olympics quest after Roubaix next season. ATIX Quickstep's Tom Bonin actually gave the 2012 Tour de France champion some props for choosing that particular race as an exit date. The three-time Roubaix winner went on to lament that more Grand Tour riders don't do the classics, but while Classics riders do technically do the Grand Tours, they don't do them the same way the Grand Tour riders do. And while managing to even make the time cut in a Grand Tour is a huge deal, there's no gruppetto on the cobbles. So Tom, you gotta come into Plateau de Bay guns blazing next season and stick it with the lead group for as long as you possibly can. Should actually be a few minutes if you really try, and then you might actually be able to make the case about Contador doing it wrong when he decides to skip Arenberg. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that was the week in bike.